Imagine this. Your brother, your son, or someone you love deeply just vanishes. For 3 agonizing years, there's silence. You go to sleep every night wondering if they are dead or alive. Then, out of nowhere, the phone rings. It's the police from the other side of the world. They say, "We found him! Your son is alive!" You rush to bring him home, filled with hope. But the moment you see him, something is wrong. His eye color has changed. His accent is completely different. Even his ears don't look the same. But here is the terrifying question. Despite all these red flags, why do you still bring him home and tell the world, "This is my son"? Today on Story Jungle, we are diving into a case where the line between reality and deception is completely blurred. A story that, by the end, will leave you wondering who to fear more, the imposter or the family. I'm Nikki, and this is the story of Nicholas Barclay. Let's get into it. Our story takes us back to the heat of San Antonio, Texas in June 1994. Let me introduce you to Nicholas Barclay. He was 13 years old, but he wasn't exactly your typical innocent teenager. He was small for his age, had blonde hair, bright blue eyes, and a gap between his front teeth. But personality-wise, Nicholas was a firecracker. He was diagnosed with ADHD and was known for being a bit of a troublemaker. He had a few run-ins with the police for minor things, nothing major, just teenage rebellion. He was a kid who lived on the edge. In fact, he had given himself these little stick-and-poke tattoos on his knuckles, a T, a J, and an L. Keep those tattoos in mind. They are going to be crucial later on. Despite the trouble, his family loved him fiercely. His mom, Beverly, and his older sister, Carrie, were used to his chaos. They thought it was just a phase. On June 13th, a Monday, Nicholas asked his mom for $5 to go play basketball with some friends at the local court. Beverly gave him the money, watched him walk out the door, and she had no idea that this was the last time she would ever see her son's face. The hours ticked by. The streetlights flickered on, but Nicholas didn't come home. Now, here is a heartbreaking detail. Later that afternoon, Nicholas actually called home. He called his older brother, asking for a ride back. But for some reason, maybe a miscommunication, maybe tough love, his brother didn't go pick him up. He told Nicholas to walk. Nicholas hung up the phone. He started walking home alone in the dark. And somewhere on that short walk, he vanished. When Nicholas didn't show up the next morning, Beverly panicked. She went straight to the police. But here's the tragic part. The police looked at Nicholas's file. They saw troublemaker, they saw ADHD, and they shrugged. They labeled him a runaway. They told Beverly, "Don't worry, he's a teenager. He's probably just blowing off steam. He'll be back when he gets hungry." They didn't launch a massive search party. They didn't lock down the city. They just waited. But Beverly knew. A mother knows. She knew Nicholas wouldn't leave his new sneakers behind. She knew he wouldn't go without his money. The family was left to search on their own. Driving around neighborhoods, putting up flyers on telephone poles, asking strangers if they'd seen a blonde kid with a gap in his teeth. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Posters faded in the Texas sun. The phone stopped ringing. 1 year passed, then 2, then 3. 3 years is an eternity when you are waiting for a ghost. By 1997, the Barclay family was broken. They kept Nicholas's room exactly the way he left it. Posters on the wall, clothes on the floor, like a shrine frozen in time. They had to accept the terrifying reality. Nicholas was likely dead. But then, just as they were about to give up hope completely, the phone rang, and the voice on the other end was about to change their lives and destroy them in ways they couldn't even imagine. It's October 7th, 1997. The phone rings in the Barclay household. It's the authorities from Linares, Spain. They tell the family, "We have a boy here. He is terrified. He won't speak much, but he says he is from San Antonio. He says he is Nicholas." Now, hold on a second. How does a kid from Texas end up in a youth shelter in Spain? Here is the twisted part that the family didn't know yet. The person in that shelter wasn't Nicholas. It was Frédéric Bourdin, a 23-year-old French con artist who had a history of faking his identity. Frederic had actually called the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children in the US, pretending to be a police officer. He asked for a description of missing American boys. When they read him the file of Nicholas Barclay, Frederic thought, "Perfect, I'll be him." He didn't stumble into this life, he stole it. Back in Texas, the family is ecstatic. They don't care about the logistics, they just want their boy back. Nicholas's sister Carrie gets on a plane immediately. Imagine her emotions on that flight. The mix of nervousness, excitement, and fear. She hasn't seen her little brother since he was 13. She arrives at the shelter in Spain. She is standing in the hallway, clutching a photo of Nicholas. The door opens, and out walks a stranger. This is the moment where reality should have slapped Carrie in the face. She is looking at a guy who is clearly older than 16. He has dark skin, dark hair, dark brown eyes, and a shadow of a beard on his face. Remember, the real Nicholas was a blonde, blue-eyed, fair-skinned kid. It's like expecting a golden retriever and getting a Doberman. Carrie freezes. But Frederic? He is a master manipulator. He knows he doesn't look like Nicholas, so before Carrie can even ask a question, he makes his move. He runs to her, throws his arms around her, and buries his face in her shoulder so she can't get a good look at him. He is shaking, crying, acting like a traumatized child who has been through hell. When they finally sit down, Carrie asks the obvious question. "Nicholas, what happened to your eyes? They were blue." And here is the lie that Frederic spins. A lie so ridiculous, it's almost genius. He whispers, "The people who took me, they experimented on me. They injected chemicals into my eyes to change the color. They wanted to hide me." He tells her that the trauma made his hair turn dark. He tells her he speaks with a weird accent because he was forced to speak French for years by his captors. He has an answer for everything. Now put yourself in Carrie's shoes. Logic tells you this is impossible. Eyes don't change color. But emotion is a powerful drug. Carrie is looking at a boy who is wearing Nicholas's clothes that Frederic had cleverly asked for. A boy who knows details about the family because he studied them. She has two choices. Accept that her brother is dead and this is an imposter. Believe the miracle. Believe that this damaged, scared boy is her brother and he needs her. She chooses the miracle. She shows him photos of the family. And guess what? Frederic studies them like a hawk. He is memorizing names, faces, and memories right in front of her. By the time they get on the plane back to Texas, Carrie is convinced. She isn't bringing a stranger home. In her mind, she is bringing Nicholas home. But the rest of the family? And the FBI? They haven't seen him yet. And the moment he steps off that plane in Texas, the real cracks start to show. Frederic lands in San Antonio, Texas. Cameras are flashing everywhere. News crews are shouting questions. It's a media circus. Imagine the adrenaline pumping through his veins. He is a 23-year-old French fugitive surrounded by Texas police, FBI agents, and a family he has never met. If he makes one mistake, one slip of the tongue, it's over. He goes to prison. He plays the part perfectly. He keeps his head down, clutching a teddy bear, holding onto Carrie's hand for dear life. He enters the Barclay home, Nicholas's home. He walks into Nicholas's bedroom, sees the posters on the wall, the clothes in the closet, and he begins to erase the real Nicholas. The first thing he does, he asks the family to buy him hair dye. He dyes his dark hair bright blonde to match the old photos. He looks in the mirror and tells himself, "I am Nicholas Barclay." Days turn into weeks. And this is where it gets psychologically disturbing. Frederic is living in this house, eating their food, sleeping in their lost son's bed. But there were signs. Huge red flags that everyone ignored. Number 1, the dog. The family dog, who had grown up with Nicholas, didn't recognize him. Every time Frederic walked into the room, the dog would growl or bark. Dogs know, right? But the family just said, "Oh, the dog is just confused." Number 2, the face. Frederic always wore a hat or a hoodie. He kept his face hidden in shadows. He refused to let anyone see his ears or his hairline. Number 3, the personality. The real Nicholas was wild, loud, and fearless. Frederic was quiet, intellectual, and spent all day watching TV. Yet Beverly, the mother, would sit with him, hug him, and tell him she loved him. Frederic later said in an interview, "I was waiting for them to catch me. Every day I thought, today is the day they say stop lying. But they never did." Just as Frederic starts to feel safe, thinking he has pulled off the crime of the century, a car pulls up to the house. Enter Charlie Parker. Charlie isn't a cop. He's a private investigator, a gruff, no-nonsense Texan with a sharp eye and a gut instinct that never lies. A TV show called Hard Copy hired him to dig into this miracle story. They wanted a heartwarming angle. But the moment Charlie met Nicholas, the hairs on the back of his neck stood up. He watched Frederic interact with the family. He saw the way he avoided eye contact. He saw the scarf wrapped around his neck to hide his age. Charlie went back to his office, poured himself a coffee, and said, "Something stinks." He didn't listen to the tearful reunion stories. He looked at the hard evidence. Charlie started digging. He pulled up the missing person flyer from 1994. Then, he zoomed in on the recent photos of the boy who returned. He focused on one specific detail: the ears. Did you know that ears are biometric identifiers? Just like fingerprints, the shape of the cartilage never changes, no matter how much you age or how much weight you lose. Charlie put the photos side by side. Photo A, real Nicholas, round ears, detached lobes. Photo B, the imposter, pointy ears, attached lobes. It was a biological impossibility. Charlie slammed his hand on the desk. He had the smoking gun. He knew with 100% scientific certainty that the person sleeping in the Barclay house was a fraud. But when he went to warn the family, expecting them to be horrified, he got a reaction that chilled him to the bone. Charlie Parker, armed with the undeniable proof of the ears, decides to confront the family. He drives to their house. He sits down with Nicholas's mother, Beverly, and his sister, Carrie. He lays the photos on the table. He points to the ears and says, Look closely. These are not the same ears. The boy in the other room is not Nicholas. Now, pause for a second. If a detective told you that a stranger was living in your house, sleeping in your child's bed, pretending to be your son, you would be terrified, right? You would scream. You would call the police. But Beverly? She didn't scream. She didn't look shocked. She looked at the photos, looked back at Charlie, and said something that still gives me chills. He's been through a lot. People change. Charlie was stunned. He realized, I'm not fighting a lack of evidence. I'm fighting a refusal to see the truth. The family wasn't just fooled. Charlie knew he couldn't do this alone. The family wasn't listening. So he called in the big guns. Enter Nancy Fisher, a veteran FBI agent. Nancy was sharp. As soon as she sat down with Nicholas, Frederic, she knew. She saw the beard stubble. She heard the accent. She saw a grown man playing dress-up. She requested a meeting with him at a local diner to verify his story. Frederic was smart enough to know he was in trouble, but he was also arrogant. He thought he could outsmart the FBI like he outsmarted the family. But Nancy Fisher didn't ask about his trauma. She didn't ask about his feelings. She asked for one thing: fingerprints. She told him, to finalize your paperwork and get you full citizenship, we just need a quick set of prints. It was a trap, and Frederic walked right into it. Back at the house, the atmosphere shifted. Frederic started to panic. He knew the FBI was processing his prints. He knew Interpol was running them through the database. It was only a matter of hours before his real name, Frédéric Bourdin, the Chameleon, popped up on a screen. But here is the twist. Frederic wasn't scared of the FBI. He was starting to get scared of the family. Why? Because he realized something terrifying. If the family knows he isn't Nicholas, and they are keeping him there anyway, then where is the real Nicholas? Why do they need an imposter so badly? Frederic started to wonder, am I a replacement? Or am I a cover-up? He started locking his door at night. The hunter had become the hunted. And then the call came. The FBI matched the prints. The game was over. Nancy Fisher and Charlie Parker drove to the house to arrest him. But the biggest mystery wasn't who he was. The biggest mystery was why the family played along. When the handcuffs clicked on Frederic's wrists, he didn't just confess to being an imposter. He dropped a bombshell accusation that turned the entire case upside down. He looked at the agents and said, I am the imposter. Yes, but I am not the villain here. I didn't kill Nicholas. They did. Who is telling the truth? The liar or the grieving mother? Now here is the million-dollar question. If Charlie Parker, a total stranger, could figure this out just by looking at a photo, how did Nicholas's own mother and sister not notice? How does a mother forget the color of her own child's eyes? When Parker took this evidence to the family and said, "This boy is a liar," what do you think they did? Did they get angry at the boy? No, they defended him. Why would a family protect a stranger so fiercely? Why would they insist he is their son when all the evidence says otherwise? Unless they knew exactly where the real Nicholas was, and they needed this lie. In part 2, we are going to uncover Frederic's terrifying confession and the dark secret the Barclay family might be hiding. A secret that might just involve murder. Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell because part 2 drops tomorrow, and trust me, you do not want to miss the twist. Let me know in the comments. Do you think the family was genuinely fooled, or were they playing along? Until the next video, stay safe. Bye!